My name is Karen and I am 31 years old. Thanksgiving was never just a holiday in my family. It was theater, a carefully staged performance of warmth and unity where everyone knew their lines. The house glowing with amber light, polished dishes reflecting the chandelier, the scent of roasted turkey and nutmeg drifting through every room, laughter floating easily between my aunts and uncles, cousins arguing playfully over trivial things, and my mother wearing that tight smile she reserved for gatherings that mattered. Yet beneath the soft clatter of silverware and rehearsed joy, something uneasy pulsed, something I had felt my entire life without ever fully grasping. And my father sat at the head of the table unusually silent, fingers resting on his glass, eyes distant yet storm-filled. A look I had seen before, the look that meant something was about to break. And then it happened with a violence no one anticipated. At Thanksgiving dinner, my dad stood up in front of everyone and shouted, "I'm done pretending she's my daughter," the words tearing through the room like a blade. Conversations dying mid-sentence, forks freezing in trembling hands. Even the children falling into stunned silence, their confusion mirroring the disbelief etched across every adult face. The air itself seeming to harden, and I felt dozens of eyes slam into me. The weight of judgment, shock, curiosity, pity, all suffocating at once, yet I smiled slowly, stood up, and said, "If you're being honest tonight," my voice surprising me, it did not crack or falter, inside my heart thundering so loudly I thought everyone could hear it, but outwardly I moved with an eerie calm, as though I had rehearsed this moment in some forgotten corner of my mind. My father's expression flickering not with regret but with something closer to irritation, as if my composure denied him the spectacle he wanted. No one intervening, no one speaking, the silence becoming a living thing, thick and paralyzing, and I pushed my chair back, its legs scraping against the floor like a scream, turning away from the table, every step toward the hallway impossibly loud, each breath razor sharp in my lungs. Until I walked to the hallway closet, pulled out an old small thing, my fingers sliding past coats and scarves until they closed around the familiar edges of the object, hidden there, wrapped carefully in a faded cloth I had guarded for years. A sanctuary of secrets, a place where truth slept quietly while doubt ruled the rest of the house. And as I turned back, the murmurs began, low, uncertain, electric, curiosity crackling through the dining room. My father's eyes locking onto what I carried. And for the first time that night I saw something fracture in his confidence. His smiles vanishing as I revealed the small wooden box, its surface scarred by time, its hinges delicate yet enduring, my grandmother's box. The single inheritance that had never felt material or trivial, small enough to fit in my hands yet heavy with everything unspoken in my family. "Where did you get that?" my father demanded, the force drained from his voice, replaced by a tight, brittle edge. And I did not answer, letting the moment breathe, letting the room absorb the significance none of them yet understood. Because this night was not born from nowhere but the culmination of years of sideways glances and questions that lingered just beyond hearing, of my father's cold distance that no achievement of mine ever quelled. Growing up learning to read spaces between words, to sense tension behind polite conversation, love with an asterisk, always with invisible hesitation. Only my grandmother different, looking at me with a certainty that felt like shelter. Her presence a quiet rebellion against my father's perpetual doubt. And before she died, she called me into her dimly lit room, frail hands trembling as they pressed the wooden box into my palms. The weight of it, the urgency in her fading voice, the strange gravity of her instructions. "Not yet," she whispered, eyes burning with something fierce and protective. "Only when you must," those words echoing inside me for years, a riddle wrapped in inevitability. And now standing in that stunned dining room surrounded by relatives who suddenly felt like strangers, I understood exactly what she meant. My father rigid, jaw clenched so tightly the muscles twitched, my mother ghostly pale, gaze fixed downward as if eye contact might expose her to something catastrophic. Around us the entire family leaning into tension, drawn helplessly into a drama they never suspected simmered beneath holiday rituals and smiling photographs. "You want honesty?" I said at last, meeting my father's eyes, my hands no longer shaking, the words hanging between us, sharp and irreversible, fear flickering across his face, quick, unmistakable, deeply unsettling. The box no longer just wood and metal but a threshold, a boundary between suspicion and revelation, narrative and reality. My fingers tracing the lid slowly, deliberately, every movement magnified by breathless stillness, memories surging, my grandmother's unwavering gaze, her whispered warning, the unbearable patience of waiting, the room contracting as though the walls leaned closer, my father shifting forward then stopping, his earlier fury shadowed by dread, knowing somewhere deep down he had always known, and I lifted my eyes to him one final time, aware that whatever lay inside this small time-worn box possessed the power to dismantle decades of assumptions, to redraw the architecture of our family, and as my fingers tightened against the lid poised on the brink of disclosure, every person in that room felt the same unspoken truth, that nothing after this moment would ever be the same again. When I opened Grandma's box, the sound almost inaudible, a soft metallic sigh echoing louder than my father's outburst. Inside, nestled in yellowed fabric, lay objects ordinary to anyone else, a folded letter, a thin silver chain, a small worn photograph. Yet the effect immediate, seismic, my father's face draining of color so quickly as if someone had pulled the life from him, eyes locking onto the photograph with naked terror. No one else understanding yet, but he did, always had. My fingers moving with strange certainty, lifting the letter first, fragile, ancient, yet unmistakably firm handwriting, my grandmother's. The room holding its breath as I unfolded it, every pair of eyes clinging to my hands, to my voice, to whatever truth was about to surface, not rushing after a lifetime of being measured, doubted, silently questioned, demanding precision. "If you're being honest tonight," I began, voice steady despite the storm inside me, "then everyone deserves to hear this," the words cutting through paralysis like a blade, my father's shifting earlier rage replaced by desperation. "Karen, don't," he said, authority gone, replaced by tremor, deeply unsettling. Continuing anyway because this was why the box existed, why my grandmother guarded it, why she chose me. The letter short yet devastating, speaking of a secret buried decades ago, a mistake he tried to erase, a truth refusing to stay hidden. Before finishing the first paragraph, illusion shattered, my mother's hand flying to her mouth, my aunt gasping, my cousin staring in disbelief, revealing what my father never imagined would survive him. That doubt weaponized against me had been born from his own betrayal, not my existence. Photograph passing silently to the center of the table. A younger version of my father beside a woman no one had ever seen, his arm wrapped protectively around her. The resemblance between that woman and me undeniable, brutal. The final lines of the letter truly destroying him. Confession preserved by my grandmother. Truth my father feared more than humiliation. "You were never the one who needed pretending," I said quietly, lowering the paper. The silence unbearable. Electric, charged with the collapse of everything my family believed. My father staggering backward as though struck. For years building distance, coldness, suspicion on a foundation of projection. Convincing himself I was the uncertainty, the fracture. Yet the box held irrefutable proof the fracturer had always been his own reflection. My mother's tears coming suddenly, violently. Suppressed knowledge exploding into sobs, filling the room with a different pain. Relatives once comfortably judging, now horrified, unsure where to place eyes, loyalties, understanding of the men they thought they knew. My father trying to speak, words failing, fragments of denial collapsing under documented truth, power dynamic inverting. Man who just publicly disowned me now exposed, stripped of certainty, confronted by reality he could never dominate. No triumph, no satisfaction. Immense disorienting release, lifelong tension snapping. All those years. "You looked at me like I was the question," I said softly, my father's eyes overflowing with devastation, understanding the magnitude of what he had done not merely tonight but across decades, doubt reshaping, rewriting childhood, altering identity, letter sliding back into the box, purpose fulfilled, Emotional wreckage total. Shock, guilt, anger, grief. No one untouched. Father sinking into chair, crushed not by accusation but by confirmation. Yet clarity emerging. Performance over. Theater dismantled. No whispers. No unspoken suspicions. No invisible tensions. Only truth. Raw and irreversible. Closing lid gently. Small click sounding like final note of a long painful symphony. I didn't come here for revenge, I said, meeting stunned faces. I came here for honesty. The weight settling heavily over everyone, particularly my father, whose narrative just disintegrated before those he once commanded. Turning to leave, room frozen but silence changed. No longer suffocating, now reckoning, pausing at doorway. Hand resting against frame. Some truths wait, I said quietly. Not to destroy, but to end the pretending, stepping into cold night air. Leaving behind shattered illusion, broken patriarch. Family forced to confront difference between belief and reality. The story of that Thanksgiving lingering like smoke. A reminder that some revelations are inevitable, waiting silently for the right hand, the right moment, the person prepared to bear them. And in that night, under amber light fading from the windows, I felt the unshakable weight of history, inheritance of truth, the power of revelation, and the quiet knowledge that sometimes the greatest acts of courage are not loud or violent, but patient, deliberate, precise, and that honesty can finally dismantle the strongest illusions, leaving only clarity behind.